Check your local Walmarts and Targets. We are seeing the first reports of Prismatic Evolutions being released early. As of this recording, it is 7:57 a.m. Pacific time on January 15th, and we're starting to see a lot more posts like this. This was from 17 minutes ago from Looney ZZ on Reddit. Prismatic, you can see ETBs, you can see he's got a ton of product in his cart that he was able to pick up from a Walmart. It's not just him. We're seeing Matty Boy XD an hour ago. I'm assuming most of these people are East Coast, picking up the tech sticker collections, the 3-pack blisters with the promo and the stickers on there. It's not just them as well. There's more. EGN Navarro. It's harder to see, but you can see he's got Prismatic ETBs, and other product in there, right? So, this is unfortunate. It's kind of it's out there, so maybe go try and get it. Like, it's coming out early, right? Some stores are stocking it early. It does, like, when you see somebody grabbing a bunch, like, I totally understand where people would be coming from. I get it. Like, then we have stuff like this. I thought about not really even showing this because this is kind of depressing. You have this guy with this whole freaking cube of ETBs, and this is where, this is the side of the hobby that it starts to get a little sad. I don't know how he got these. Maybe as distribution, but that seems like a lot. I don't know. But it's being released out there, so after this video, I'm going to go hunt my local Walmart and Target, and I'm going to be out there with you guys in the trenches trying to find some product. But that's not exactly what this video was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be about cards. We're going to talk cards and a little bit of sealed product. But in a recent comment, I had a subscriber that was wanting me to talk about the Van Gogh Pikachu again. And it's been a minute since I touched on it, and I do think it's worth talking about. So this was like a free promo from the Pokemon Center. It was like easy to get. There's tons of them out there. We're going to talk PSA 10 and pop reports as well. But this is one of the, even with the craziness of this market, this Van Gogh Pikachu card is one that absolutely still continues to blow my mind. It is up 100% in the past 3 months, from 130 up to 260. We're seeing last solds in the 280s, so it's continuing to climb. With the PSA 10 sale of 700 here, we'll check eBay in a minute. There's only 45 copies available. Lowest listed is actually 300. So it looks like the gray felt hat Van Gogh Pikachu is up to $300. If you look at the 1-year chart, it's up 96%. It was like starting to fall for a while, and it bottomed out around $80, right? Which is kind of wild considering it's at 300 now. And PSA 10s, I mean, look at this. Last solds on eBay, we're in the 800s, right? 800, 800, 800, 800, 800, 1,000. We have a $1,000 sale on this card. And if you're not familiar, I'm gonna tell you exactly how many are graded. And that's the wildest part of this whole thing. 800, very consistent sales. And then a few down here, a little off, a 730 or 740 and a 670. So between 800 and up to $1,000 on the gray felt hat Van Gogh Pikachu, even in this market, it just blows my mind. Like, if you are chasing this card right now and paying these prices, like, I don't blame you, but like, I can't justify that money for this card personally. I could never. If you're picking it up, like, and you love the art and you love the card, then that's great, as long as you're happy with that. But when you start to look at, this is the pop report from PSA, right? You have Pikachu with gray felt hat, Pokemon X Van Gogh. So this is 63,000 copies graded, and there's 32,000 PSA 10s, which, traditionally, if you looked at the population report, that this card wouldn't be worth very much because there's so many. Also, the gem rate is over 50%, which is wild. They, usually for this type of card, especially promos too, like, they don't always grade this well. 26,000 9s, 2008s, and then it goes down and down and down, right? And you got a few ones, 10 ones. So somebody bent those ones up and then graded them. So that's kind of funny. 32. So, I mean, and when you're talking about the Moonbreon is at 13,000, and people said that was too high. So it is proof that if a card is popular enough, that these population reports do not matter whatsoever, especially in a bull market. 32,000 10s. I mean, when you put it in the context of how many Pokemon collectors are out there, there's way more than 30,000. We're in the millions, right? So from that aspect, I do understand it, but it's just one of those extreme circumstances where I'm just, a little bit disconnected from the card because it's just not particularly my cup of tea, right? So with the piece, it's just wild. Let me know. Go in the comments and let me know, like, where are you guys at with this card? Are you agreeing with $800 to $1,000 PSA 10 prices and $300 raw? Like, are you buying this card? Are you holding some? Like, where is it at? Let me know. Also, we're gonna jump back over to Twilight. We talked about Twilight recently. If you're new to the channel, we made a video a little while ago. It was about to sell out on the Pokemon Center. It's sold out on the Pokemon Center. Now we're seeing the Eevee run. We're seeing the booster boxes start to run as well. And, the Eevee, not a surprise. We have Prismatic Evolutions, like, early releasing now. It's supposed to be out in 2 days. The hype for that is absolutely insane. And this card, obviously, a nice illustration rate. It's up 76%. It's continuing to climb. Most recent sale is actually $118. Before that, $99. There's been a few people in the comments, and yes, I don't remember your username. I'm so sorry. You were saying $100 Eevee. It's inevitable, just a matter of time. Here we are. Lowest listed from a starred seller, $99. I'm going to round up. I'm going to call that 100. After that, you do have $99.99. So you have the cute Eevee illustration rare at $100 with a sale above that. 68 copies available. We can zoom out a little bit more here. And you can say this is another card that's just only pretty much over time just gone up. There's obviously been dips. It came out the gate at 25, shot up to 60, back down to 40, came back up to the 50s, and obviously now we're at where we're at now with Twilight Masquerade. The booster boxes as well. Take a gander at that. We're nearing $200 on the booster box. They got market price at $191. Last sold was $193. It's not showing me the last sold pricing. Sometimes that happens on TCG Player. I apologize. But you can see in the last month here, about 20% gains. So this was right before it sold out on the Pokemon Center. It started nearing MSRP, and that's where I started taking a look at it. There is ways to check stock on the Pokemon Center, right? So we were able to see that it was starting to get close to selling out. Then it sold out. It ran up a little bit to around here, like recently, and then it's just continued to climb. So not really a big surprise. Lowest listed is 193, and I'm sure once you get down to here, if we go to page 2. We're going to see listings in the 200s, right? So it's just a matter of time until Twilight is a $200 box. This was a really easy call, right? You have the Greninja and the Eevee. That's enough. That's enough right there to carry the set. But there's actually some other nice cards in the set as well. Listed median price is $200. So let's see. In the last month, 293 boxes being sold. It's just for some data on TCG. It's nice to see, right? Sometimes, I don't always talk about volume as much, and it's nice to put it in comparison just to see how many boxes are selling in a 1 month period. In the last 3 months, for example, it does not want to. Oh, this is, sorry. I was wrong. That is way off. I was looking at current quantity. Sorry. Correction. 577 in the last month with 1,500 in the last 3 months. So to put that in perspective, there you go. And we can zoom out to 6 month, 3,000 boxes. Just interesting to see. We also have some celebrations starting to move. This is that Umbreon, and we're seeing 144% growth. There's only 30 copies listed. 3 months ago, this was a $14 card. I remember, back when Celebrations first came out, and I pulled this card, I was very pumped. It was not worth very much at the time, but 14 up to in the 30s. Last sold all in the 40s. We're seeing 48, 45, 48, 47 last solds. Lowest listed is $48. This is a $50 card in Celebrations. It's a nice card too, by the way. The original and the reprint with the stamped. It's a nice looking card. Only 30 copies available, and you can see there was a lot of purchases right here. January 5th through 7th, that's when the most copies were purchased. 53 items. So if we can zoom out to take a look at the 1 year. The 1 year, see, this card was very stagnant for a while. I remember this. Just right? Just doing nothing. Market starts to take off, goes up a little, market blows up. So $50 on the Umbreon. It's not the only card from Celebrations. We have the Shiny Mew is up 66% the past 3 months. It was 17 back here. Now we're seeing in the 30s. Pretty consistent sales of these last, all in the lower to mid 30s. 86 copies available. Lowest listed is 35, which is just a tinge above market currently. So that kind of adds up. With the Bubble Mew popping off as well, this one's not a surprise. But this card was on a decline. You can see on the last year, it went from 27 all the way down to 19, popped back up to the 20s, and then this was the lowest it's been in the past year. So $17 and a rather big explosion. In this window right here in November, there was a lot of copies sold, and that was on the uptick, probably contributing to the recent price movement that we're seeing, right? A lot of sales on the uptick tend to drive eyeballs to it, right? So yeah, this is interesting. You don't see a lot of this happening right now, where a card was just falling, and then boom, hits the springboard, the trampoline, and just shoots up. We don't really see that a super ton in this current market. We also have the Mega Rayquaza from Celebrations, just a measly 72%. 3 months ago, this was a $9 card. Now we're in the 15s. Not the biggest dollar jump, but percentage-wise, pretty huge, I would say. 100 copies available, so a little bit more plentiful. I do apologize. We got to get to near mint here. So we got near mint listings. $17 is the lowest listed from a starred seller, which would be above market price and above most of these recent sales, except for these there's a few 19s and a 17 down here. Another nice card. I wasn't the biggest fan of I don't mind stamps on cards. I like but this specific Pikachu 25, I just feel like it does take away from a card like this having that stamp on there. Just my opinion though. Let me know if you guys agree. Because I get it. Some people like it, some people don't. But I would just rather have it just be maybe a little smaller if they were going to do this, or just do a different 25 without the Pikachu on it. Because I just feel like it retracts from the Rayquaza a little bit. On the 1 year side, we are seeing some pretty steady growth on this guy. You can see back here was 750 was the low. It shot up to 12, came back down, and then it looks a little bit more stair-steppy on its way up on the Rayquaza. Not the craziest card, but just nice to see. Even the Shining Magikarp, which the original Shining Magikarp, one of my favorite cards of all time. And so yeah, obviously I'm a sucker for the 25th as well. You can see 33% growth. Once again, not the craziest, but we're just talking about, we talked about some Pokemon Go stuff recently, and it's so some of these lesser sets, Pokemon Go, Celebrations, they're all moving. 33% growth in the past 3 months from, around $8 up to $12. There's a lot of copies on here still, 132. Lowest listed is about $12.50 with shipping on that guy, which technically is a little bit above market. So nothing crazy, but you can see in the 1 year, this is a pretty big shoot up right here, 40% on the year. And yeah, the lowest was $8 on the Shining Magikarp. Celebration's a super fun set to open too. There's only 4 cards per pack, right? If I remember correctly. But all the cards were for the most part, fun. There's a few in there where I was I don't, didn't like some of them. But this guy was obviously the big chase, right? You got the Charizard. Anytime, they could reprint this card and do this same artwork a few more times, I'd still be a sucker for it. I'm not going to lie. The nostalgia hits on this guy. And it's not, we touched on this recently as well. It's kind of like holding. It shot up from the 70s up to the 90s. It's kind of came down just a little, but it's kind of really holding in this $90 range for the Charizard. Last sold's high 80s. There is a 110 sale in here, but that seems like the anomaly, and a 117. Before that, pretty much all high 80s and 90s. So nothing too wild there, but Celebrations is doing some things. It's the most expensive card. Lowest listed is about 90, which would be below market. So maybe this guy is coming down. After that, it goes into 90, 94, 95. So we'll see where it ends up. Once again, if you're looking for this artwork, one of the more affordable artworks besides the Evolutions, I haven't checked on that card in a minute. The Evolutions Charizard of the same artwork. They're just fun though. It's nice to have if you want that artwork for your collection, but maybe can't afford the actual originals, which makes sense. So it's a good little option there. I do remember when this was back in the 60s. $60 shot up to 85, came back down as low as 60, and now we're at where we're at with that card. So nice to see just some celebrations movement. Then we have some more got some trainer gallery cards and and an illustration rare. The Garchomp taking off again. We're seeing $50 on this card, $50 market. I mean, these trainer cards, I'm a big fan of them. I like the Garchomp, right? This is with Cynthia, but 98% growth in 3 months. And it just like, it was kind of slowly climbing right here up to 30, from 25 to 30. It looks like on this chart, it kind of looks like nothing really happened there. Like it was just, and then boom, obviously just shot up into the 50s. Not that many copies available on TCG, which is interesting. And lowest listed is 50, which is a tinge under market, but that kind of aligns with the most recent sales. 48, 51, 36, 60. There are a few 60s in here, so that is interesting. We'll see where the top. This is one of those things where like on all of these cards, and just in this market, with some of these lesser trainer galleries, lesser other cards, where is the actual tops going to be? That is something that I find very interesting, and I kind of can't wait to see where they all shake out. But if you look at the 1 year, this card did have a run up when we had the alt art boom. It went from about $20 up to 40, 46. So we are, above that previous high, 1 year high. And then it came down and settled around $26, setting a higher low, which shows health. Healthy card, healthy chart, good demand. After a big price spike, this is what we used to see. It would retrace at some point, and setting a higher low is good. Will that happen in this new insane bull market? Probably, but it just won't retrace. Maybe they won't retrace quite as much until things cool off. Maybe they'll just have littler dips. Once again, that's something to keep an eye on. Nobody can know for sure. It's just like all theorizing at this point. But it is, once again, something to keep an eye on, right? I will let you guys know, daily videos. So we will be touching on all of that as the market continues to grow. Like the approach to just getting product has changed. The approach for everything has changed. So we'll adapt as things move, right? That's what you have to do. You have to be adaptable in this market. We also have the Spiel illustration rare from Surging Sparks. Absolutely adorable card. I've been kind of falling in love with some of these more adorable cards, but this card's seeing some pretty massive growth, 144%. We are seeing, I feel like we're in the rise of the illustration rare. A lot of the ones that were undervalued are now coming into prominence, and then some of the ones that were big before, like the Magikarp, the Groudon, they're continuing to run and show their dominance in their sets. We have sets where illustration rares are the most expensive cards, and that's kind of wild considering how much easier they are to pull. But some sets, with the amount of IRs, it does make it difficult. But this Spiel went from $4 up to 12. And most recent sale, actually, there's a 25. This does seem like an outlier, but 25. Before that, 12, 11, 10, and another 25 down here on the Spiel. 43 copies available. Lowest listed is 15, which would be above market. And after that, you're in the 20s. So maybe Spiel is going to $20, which would be interesting. If we zoom out here, we are not at that high pre-release price yet. That $15 sale would push it above if that holds. Pre-release was 12 for Surging. Obviously, Surging Sparks, pretty hyped set. So, and this card came down, to reality around $3, $4 for months, and it hit 5 before it's shoot up right here. Nice illustration rare though for your collection. We're gonna talk about Starmie again just for a second. I just wanted to give this card some more attention, continuing to run. The last month, 27% in the last month alone, from 50s up into the 70s. This is an example, in my opinion, of one of the top tier trainer gallery cards. We're also seeing flip the script on a lot of the trainer gallery cards that have been dirt cheap for a long time. This one hasn't been dirt cheap like some of the other ones. There's been a lot that have been like $2, $3, but you got the Starmie up to $70 last sold. 70, 80, 90, 80, 70. So it's kind of fluctuating a little bit, but this is just a card I really like a lot, and it has surpassed this previous high of 67. Before that, it was in the 30s, 30 to 40, ran up to 67 during the alt art boom, came back down. Looks like the lowest it did hit was around 45. Yeah, 45 was definitely these low points, and now seeing it eclipse those old prices is nice to see. Lowest listed is this is going to be in the 80s with shipping, which would put this market price continuing to climb. And after that, if you go down a few more sellers, we're looking into the 90s, creeping in on $100. This seems like one of those cards that might be able to hit that. If we go to page 2, we'll see where it ends up at. Once again, we have to have some cards sell here, but page 2 does put it in the 100, 103, even after that jumps up to 130. So Starmie potentially going to 100 does seem like a possibility for one of the nicer trainer gallery cards. Then you have the Dalga from Astral Radiance. This is going to be the last card we're going to touch on real quick. This card's up 60%. This is another one of those cards that was just kind of not doing anything for a while, I feel like. In the last 3 months, it went from a $30 card up to $50. Most recent sales, it's not showing, but though they show the most recent right here as 74, with the lowest listed being 50. So that 74 is an outlier. It looks like pretty consistent in the 50s. So this market price is very accurate in the 50s. But we look at the 1 year, and this is why I say it did have a run up. It did have a run up right here. Same thing, alt art boom, it ran up. Before that, it was in the 20s, did the alt art boom, came back down into the 30s. This isn't one of those other cards, like, I say this a lot, but it's just a nice looking, stunning card in person. These pictures don't capture the beauty of these cards on TCG Player. But, so yeah, it was on the free fall from May to November. And like I said, before that, it was $25. So getting up to, it's got to go a little bit further to eclipse this high. So that's something that you would want to see. But, a lot of these Sword and Shield sets like Astral Radiance, everything moving. I'm going to pull up, I did not have this ready. We haven't touched on it in a minute. And sorry, my keyboard is asleep. But we're going to touch on the Silver Tempest, the Rayquaza. I also had that requested. My keyboard, I hate it when it does this. Silver Tempest. We touched on it recently, but we'll bring it up again just because it was requested here. This guy right here. So this card was moving. We'll see kind of where it's at. Near mint, we're at 147% growth. It was a $30 card. Now it's at 75. Most recent sale is 100, but before that, 80s and 70s. Another 100 sale down here. 46 copies. Lowest listed is where I'm interested. So lowest listed is 80. And then after that, lowest listed from a starred seller, you're looking at, jumping up to 100 potentially. So that's another one that, could be going to 100 soon raw. You can see it really, really eclipsed this old high of the alt art boom of 50. So it was in the 30s for a while, and now we're seeing potentially $100 on the Rayquaza. So I wanted to bring that one up as well. But in summary, go check out your Walmarts, go check out your Targets. I got to get this video up so I can go check mine. Obviously, West Coast being delayed. We're in that time, we're in the critical mass time of try to get the product. Go see what you can get. I totally understand people, like at the beginning, like the guy who had a ton of ETBs and tons of other product in his cart. Like, I get where they're coming from. Here's my approach, right? If my Target or Walmart has 10 ETBs, I'm going to take one, maybe two, right? And then if they have some of the other product, I'll get a few of the other product. I'm not going to clean them out, personally. I get it. I get why people would do it. I totally get it. I get it, right? It's, but there's just something about it that rubs me the wrong way of just buying them out. I can't buy them out. I can't. Anyways, I'm not trying to make this about like a moral compass or anything like that. I'm not saying like you guys do what you got to do, but just try and be a little kinder out there. Try and think of the others. That's all. I don't know, it's not going to go anywhere, and I get it. And Pokemon needs to print more product, and that's kind of, if there was more product available, we wouldn't really be here. So I don't know. It's a rough situation. There was the whole PokeRev thing and everything going on. We'll probably talk about that more later today. If you guys are this far in, we're going to do a live stream later today, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for that. That should be fun. We'll talk about a little bit of everything. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase. Oh.